Let's be honest for a second. You love your dog, but sometimes they smell. I'm talking about the smell that comes back, the one where you give them a good bath, they're soft and clean and wonderful, and then a couple of days later you lean in for a cuddle and there it is again, that funk, and you find yourself thinking, how, how are you already stinky again? If that's you, I want you to relax because you're not doing anything wrong. You've just been aiming at the wrong target. Here's the thing most people never realize. When a dog smells, no matter how often you wash them, the problem isn't on the surface. Washing the outside will never fix a smell that's coming from somewhere specific, and there's almost always a specific somewhere. I'm Dr. Evan Park, and in over 20 years as a veterinarian, why does my dog smell? Is one of the most common questions I get, and honestly, one of the most satisfying to solve because the fixes are simple and most of them are already in your kitchen or bathroom right now. No expensive shampoos, no perfume sprays that just cover it up for a day. Today, I'm going to give you 5 real home remedies that actually eliminate dog odor at the source. Not vague advice like bathe them more, but things you can mix and use tonight. And one of them, number 2, targets the most common source of dog smell that almost nobody thinks to check. When I tell you what it is, I think a few of you are going to sit up because you've been washing everything except the part that's actually causing it. So stick with me because before I hand you a single remedy, there's one simple thing you need to understand about why dogs smell in the first place. And once it clicks, all 5 of these are going to make perfect sense. Before I give you a single remedy, you need this one piece of knowledge because it's the key that unlocks all 5. Your dog's skin, ears, and paws are home to a natural community of microorganisms, mostly yeast and bacteria. This is completely normal. Every healthy dog has them, and in the right balance, they produce nothing more than that mild, comforting doggy smell we actually love. The problem begins when that balance tips and those organisms start to overgrow. And what makes them overgrow? 2 things, and I need you to burn these into your memory: warmth and moisture. Yeast and bacteria are basically tiny living things, and like anything living, they bloom when you give them a warm, damp, dark place to grow. When they multiply out of control, that pleasant doggy scent turns into something sharp and offensive. People describe it as moldy bread, wet cardboard, old cheese, or a sour, musty funk. So here's the detective work. Ask yourself, where on your dog is warm, damp, and dark? The floppy ears that seal in moisture, the tight spaces between the toes, the folds of skin on a bulldog or a pug, the area under the tail. Those aren't random spots, and those are exactly where odor problems bloom because those are the spots that stay wet and warm. That's your map. A stinky dog is almost never stinky all over. There's a source, and every remedy I'm about to give you is designed to shut down that source, either by killing the overgrowth or by removing the moisture it needs to survive. Keep that in mind as we go because it's going to make everything click. All right, let's fix your dog. Number 1. Let's start with the remedy that handles the most widespread type of dog odor, that general yeasty, musty smell coming off the skin and coat. Here's the science that makes this work. Yeast, the main culprit behind that musty smell, thrives in an environment that isn't acidic enough. So we're going to make your dog's skin surface more acidic, which yeast absolutely cannot tolerate. And the tool for that is sitting in your pantry right now. Raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. Here's your recipe. Mix 1 part apple cider vinegar with 1 part warm water. A 50-50 blend. Do not use it straight. Undiluted vinegar is too harsh for the skin. After your dog's normal bath, while they're still damp, pour or sponge this diluted rinse over their coat, working it down to the skin, especially on the areas that smell the most. Avoid the eyes and any raw spots. Then, and this is important, do not rinse it back out, just gently towel off the excess and let them air dry. As the water evaporates, the mild acidity stays behind on the skin, creating a surface where yeast simply can't flourish. The vinegar smell fades completely as it dries, I promise. You're not left with a salad dressing dog. For the in-between days, you can keep a spray bottle of the same 50-50 mix and lightly mist their coat, then towel it in, a quick refresh that keeps the yeast in check without a full bath. But here is your vet warning, and please don't skip this one. Do not use apple cider vinegar anywhere the skin is broken, raw, scratched open, or has an open hot spot. Vinegar is an acid, and on damaged skin, it will sting badly and cause your dog real distress. This remedy is only for intact, unbroken skin that's musty and smelly, not for wounds. If the skin is raw and angry, that's past the home remedy line and needs a vet's eyes. Now, the vinegar rinse handles the coat and skin, but if your dog still smells after this, the source is somewhere the rinse can't reach, and that brings us to the source almost nobody checks. Number 2. Here's the scenario I see constantly. An owner does everything right, regular baths, clean coat, the works, and there's still this strong, sour, unmistakable smell following the dog around, and they cannot figure out where it's coming from because they've washed the dog head to tail. The answer, 9 times out of 10, is the ears. And this is the source I told you almost no one checks. Think back to our rule: warm, damp, dark. A dog's ear canal, especially in floppy-eared breeds like spaniels, retrievers, hounds, and doodles, is the single most perfect yeast-breeding environment on the entire body. That floppy ear acts like a lid, sealing in warmth and moisture with almost no airflow. Every time your dog swims, gets a bath, or walks in the rain, water gets in there and just sits, and yeast throws a party. So here's your remedy, and this is one you can make at home. A gentle ear cleaning solution you can mix yourself. Combine equal parts witch hazel and a small amount of the diluted apple cider vinegar we already talked about. Or, if you prefer, use a simple veterinary-approved ear cleanser that contains a drying agent. The drying agent is the whole point. Here's how to use it. Put a little of the solution on a cotton ball or a piece of gauze, never a Q-tip jammed down into the canal, and gently wipe out the visible part of the ear, the flap, and the opening. You can also put a few drops of a proper dog ear cleaner directly into the ear, gently massage the base for a few seconds, and let your dog shake their head. That shaking brings the loosened debris and moisture up and out. The magic move that owners forget: clean the ears after every time they get wet, after the bath, after the swim, after the rainy walk. For dogs that are prone to smelly ears, doing this once or twice a week keeps the yeast from ever getting a foothold. This one habit all by itself eliminates what is genuinely one of the most common sources of a chronically stinky dog. But here is your critical vet warning. There's a difference between a mild yeasty odor and a full-blown infection. A light musty smell usually just means the ears need a cleaning. But if you're dealing with a strong, genuinely foul smell, along with dark or bloody gunk, redness deep in the canal, head shaking, or your dog crying when you touch the ear, that is not an odor problem anymore. That is an ear infection, and no home remedy will cure it. That needs a vet, because cleaning prevents infections, but cannot fix one that's already taken hold. Please keep that line in mind. Number 3. Now let's talk about a smell you've definitely encountered: that corn chip, tortilla chip, Frito feet smell coming off your dog's paws. A little bit of that smell is completely normal and honestly kind of endearing. It's just the natural microorganisms living on the paw pads. But when it gets strong, when the feet smell overpoweringly of corn chips or turn sour, that's yeast overgrowth between the toes. And there's usually a vicious cycle driving it. Your dog has itchy skin or allergies, so they lick their paws. The licking keeps the paws constantly wet with saliva. That moisture feeds the yeast. The yeast makes the paws itchier, so they lick more. Round and round it goes. Here's your remedy: a paw soak that breaks the cycle. Take a shallow basin or even a clean Tupperware container and fill it with your diluted apple cider vinegar solution, that same 50-50 mix, or warm water with a couple of tablespoons of vinegar added. After walks or a few times a week for a smelly-footed dog, simply dunk each paw and let it soak for 30 seconds to a minute, or pour the solution over the feet if your dog won't stand still for a dunk. The acidity kills the yeast right where it lives. And now the step that makes or breaks this entire remedy: dry between the toes thoroughly afterward. I mean, really get in there with a towel. The whole point of the soak is to kill the yeast and then remove the moisture it depends on. If you soak and leave the paws damp, you've done half the job and possibly made it worse. Clean, then dry. Do this consistently, and that overpowering foot smell will fade dramatically. Same warning applies here as with the skin. If your dog has licked their paws raw or there are open sores between the toes, skip the vinegar because it will sting. And if the paw licking is constant and obsessive, That's a signal there's an allergy underneath driving the whole thing, and you'll be fighting the smell forever unless you address that itch with your vet's help. Number 4. Sometimes the smell isn't in one spot, it's the whole dog. A dog with irritated, inflamed skin all over will smell, because inflamed skin produces more oil and creates more openings for bacteria to bloom across the entire coat. For that, we need a remedy that calms the whole surface at once, and my favorite is one you can make from your breakfast cupboard: a colloidal oatmeal bath. Here's how you make it. Take about a cup of plain, unsweetened, unflavored oats. Regular breakfast oats are fine, and grind them in a blender or coffee grinder until they become a fine, powdery dust. That fine powder is what colloidal oatmeal actually is. You don't need to buy the fancy packaged version. Now draw a bath for your dog, and here's the critical detail. The water must be lukewarm to cool, never warm or hot. Heat draws blood to the surface of already irritated skin and makes inflammation and odor worse. Stir your oatmeal dust into the water until it turns milky, place your dog in, and use a cup to pour that milky water over their entire body. Let them soak in it for a solid 10 minutes. Here's the science of why it works. Colloidal oatmeal binds to the skin and forms a soothing protective film that pulls heat and inflammation out of the tissue, calms the itch, and helps restore a healthier skin surface, one where bacteria and yeast are far less able to overgrow. When you're done, gently pat them dry with a towel rather than rubbing, since rubbing re-irritates the skin. You can do this oatmeal soak once a week for a dog with chronically irritated, smelly skin, and you can even follow it with the diluted apple cider vinegar rinse from Remedy number 1. Soothe the skin first with oatmeal, then shift the surface against yeast with the vinegar. Those two remedies together are a powerful 1-2 punch for a full-body funk. Our final remedy is the one that works from the inside out, and it addresses two things at once: the general funk that won't quit no matter what you do on the outside, and the single most misunderstood smell in all of dog ownership. Let's start with diet, because what goes into your dog has a direct line to how they smell. Diets very heavy in starches and processed carbohydrates can actually feed yeast overgrowth throughout the body. Remember, yeast is a living thing, and it thrives on sugars and starches. A dog running on a diet that constantly feeds that yeast can end up with recurring smelly ears, smelly paws, and smelly skin, no matter how diligently you clean the outside. So the internal remedy here is twofold. First, add a probiotic. The easiest home version is a spoonful of plain, unsweetened yogurt or kefir mixed into their dinner. This lays down good bacteria in the gut that helps crowd out the bad and calm the whole system. Second, make sure they're getting adequate fiber, which supports healthy digestion and, this is the part that matters in a second, healthy anal gland function. But you must read the label before you buy that yogurt or kefir. You are looking for one deadly ingredient: xylitol, sometimes now listed as birch sugar. Xylitol is an artificial sweetener found in many sugar-free and diet yogurts, and even a tiny amount can cause a dog's liver to fail. Only buy 100% plain, unsweetened yogurt or kefir with zero artificial sweeteners. And if your dog is lactose intolerant, skip the dairy entirely and use a proper canine probiotic powder instead. Now, the fiber connection brings me to remedy number 5's second half, and the answer to a question many of you have had for years without knowing it. Picture your dog scooting their rear across the carpet, and then that sharp, unmistakable fishy smell fills the room. No bath fixes it, it keeps coming back. Most owners have no idea what it is. Here's what's happening. Your dog has two small scent glands called anal glands tucked just inside their rear. Normally, they release a tiny bit of fluid when your dog goes to the bathroom, and you never notice. But sometimes they don't empty properly. The fluid backs up, thickens, and produces that intense fishy odor that no amount of bathing will ever touch, because the smell is coming from a sealed gland inside the dog. The scooting is your dog trying to relieve that pressure. So here's your home remedy: increase dietary fiber. A higher fiber diet, you can add a spoonful of plain, 100% pure canned pumpkin, not the sugary pie filling, to their food, creates firmer stool. And firmer stool naturally presses on those glands as it passes, helping them empty on their own the way nature intended every single time your dog goes to the bathroom. That's the real, sustainable, at-home fix for the fishy smell. And the pumpkin doubles as a gentle digestive helper. But here's my firm vet warning to close this one out. Actually expressing full anal glands by hand is not something I want you learning off the internet and doing yourself. Done wrong, you can genuinely hurt your dog or damage the glands. The fiber is your prevention. But if the fishy smell and scooting keep coming back despite it, that's your cue to let a vet or a trained groomer handle the glands, because persistent anal gland trouble can occasionally signal an infection or something more serious that needs a professional's eyes. All right, we've covered a lot today. The apple cider vinegar rinse for the coat, the DIY ear solution for that hidden sour smell, the paw soak for Frito feet, the colloidal oatmeal bath for full body funk, and the inside-out fixes with probiotics, fiber, and pumpkin. Now here's my golden rule, and please take it seriously. Do not run out and do all 5 of these tonight. If you bathe your dog in oatmeal, rinse them in vinegar, soak their paws, and dump yogurt and pumpkin into their bowl all at once, you're going to overwhelm them and possibly upset their stomach with all the new food additions at the same time. Start with the one that matches your dog's actual smell. Fishy? Start with the fiber. Yeasty coat? Start with the vinegar rinse. Sour and you've been ignoring the ears? Start there. Find the source, pick the matching remedy, and give it a week before you add another. Because that's the real lesson hiding inside all 5 of these. A stinky dog isn't a dirty dog. A stinky dog is a dog trying to tell you something, that moisture is trapped where it shouldn't be, that yeast is blooming, or that something on the inside needs adjusting. The smell is information, and now you know how to read it, and exactly what to reach for to fix it. One last thing, and I mean this every time I say it, you know your dog better than anyone on earth. If a smell is sudden, severe, or comes with redness, pain, itching, or a change in how your dog is acting, that's past home remedies. That's your signal to let your vet take a look. Trust that instinct. It's almost always right. The fact that you sat here and learned all of this proves how much you love that dog of yours. So, go find the source, pick your remedy, and give your sweet, stinky best friend a gentle scratch behind the ears for me. I'll see you in the next one.